was that they didn't operate after 5 o'clock.
Well, that was what they told me Friday.
So you have an accident early in the day. If
yeah,
you
that's what I said. You know, I'll try and arrange it in the morning next time.
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. Darks, who's voted Conservative in the past, said the experience had destroyed his faith in the NHS.
I didn't possibly think it was true what I read in the paper. I thought this is just the media stretching things, some of these things I read. But now I do believe it's true, because I think there's just a part-time National Health. It's a 9 till 5 National Health, if you like to put it that way.
The Liberal Democrats joined Labour in condemning Mrs. Dark's 67-hour wait.
If we go on like this, I think that hospitals which have accident and emergency departments but don't deal with emergencies quickly may well be liable to be done under the Trades Descriptions Act.
The Health Secretary, who was in the constituency today, said local services were improving. He said it was regrettable that individual patients had been used in party politics, and said Mrs. Darks had had to wait because of even more urgent admissions.
Clearly would have been better if it had been done immediately, and we are in fact increasing the operating capacity of Good Hope Hospital in order to ensure that there isn't the same stress on the operating theatres in future that there has been in this particular case.
The issue has certainly kept the Conservatives on the defensive in the last few days of campaigning. They've criticised Labour for making political capital out of the case, but no, it hasn't improved their chances of holding on to the seat. Lance Price, BBC News, Tamworth.
The Staffordshire South East by-election will be held on Thursday. 13 candidates are contesting the seat, which became vacant after the death of the Conservative MP Sir David Lightbourne. He had a majority of just over 7,000 at the last election. The annual increases in social security payments came into effect today. Pensions, income support, unemployment and child benefits are all rising in line with last September's inflation rate. It means, for example, that the retirement pension for a married couple will be £97.75 a week, up £3.65, and a single person on unemployment benefit will now get £48.25. Also this week, the government's introducing schemes and incentives to try to get the long-term unemployed back to work.
Harry Ramsden's fish restaurant in Cardiff. The Ramsden chain of fish and chip eateries makes a point of recruiting a fifth of its staff from people who've been unemployed for more than 6 months. A small contribution to solving the most severe problem in the labour market, long-term unemployment.
We've employed quite a number of long-term unemployed people, and we found that the commitment and loyalty is really great with them, and we found it brilliant, and we'd like to employ more.
But most employers are less sure. They prefer to take on people in jobs already. So on the menu of new measures to reduce long-term unemployment is a one-year holiday from employers' national insurance payments for anyone they take on who's been out of work for at least 2 years, a subsidy worth several £100s. Clifford Jones, who benefited from Harry Ramsden's policy, thinks it'll help other employers follow.
If you're giving people money, it's an inducement to take people out of unemployment into employment, and that's perhaps what employers need, an inducement to help.
Economists like the principle, but know it has to be implemented carefully.
It's possible that some employers will take advantage of this scheme and lay off other workers. What is needed are provisions in the scheme to ensure that unscrupulous employers don't behave in that way.
But there are sticks as well as carrots in government policy. From today, people signing on for unemployment benefit will see it means tested after 6 months, instead of a year as before. And 2 new trials of a workfare type scheme open tomorrow, affecting about 7,000 people. They'll get extra help in finding jobs, but if they don't help out in local projects, they could lose benefit altogether. Evan Davis, BBC News.
There were 2 important Premiership football matches played today, and highlights can be seen in Match of the Day after this news. So if you don't want to know the results and how they affect the top of the table, look away now. Ten Japanese tourists have been rescued from the sea after their plane crashed off the Australian coast near Brisbane. The pilot, who was also rescued, had been trying to make an emergency landing when the accident happened.
The plane hit rocks, flipped over and sank into 2 meters of water. But within seconds, dozens of people who'd seen the crash from beachside bars waded in to rescue those on board. 10 Japanese tourists and the pilot were all pulled free alive, though 2 have serious injuries.
The right wing just came down and hit on that rock over there, and it just spun around and went in the water. You couldn't hear the engine or anything.
All these people just ran down from the pub or whatever it is, just on the other side of the rock here, and they all just run down and started helping dragging them all out and that.
The twin-propeller aircraft, operated by a small local airline, was carrying tourists from a nearby island when it lost power. Police say the Australian pilot was trying to make an emergency landing on the beach when it crashed. Investigators are now trying to establish what caused the accident. Margaret Gilmore, BBC News.
And back now to tonight's main news. Police in Belfast have just fired more plastic bullets at Protestant marchers. They also baton-charged the demonstrators, who numbered several hundred, and most of the marchers now appear to have dispersed. Earlier, the police had been attacked with stones and petrol bombs when they prevented the march from entering a Catholic area. That's all from the BBC Newsroom tonight. Good night.
Good evening. A man has died after trying to protect his daughter in a brawl outside a pub in Oxford. 60-year-old John Burge collapsed when he intervened in the disturbance. A post-mortem examination later revealed he died of a heart attack.
The trouble began outside this pub in the Donington Bridge area of the city. 60-year-old John Burge, who lived nearby, was called to the fracas to help his teenage daughter Helen and a friend who were being assaulted by a gang of about 15 youths. He tried to intervene but collapsed in the street. Attempts to resuscitate him failed and he died in hospital.
The victim's family are very, very distressed. I believe they do not want to speak to any members of the press. Clearly, it's the most ghastly incident for everybody involved. They're very, very upset.
A post-mortem examination showed that Mr. Burge died of a heart attack brought on by stress. Police say they're treating his death as suspicious and have set up an incident room at Cowley Police Station. They want to hear from anyone who saw the disturbance.
The missing Kent schoolgirl Deo Adebayo has been found safe and well. The 15-year-old was reunited with her family at Dartford Police Station. She disappeared on Thursday when she went to shops near her home. Deo was recognised at the town's railway station. It's nearly 10 years since the world's worst nuclear accident in Chernobyl, and today 10 children who survived but are suffering the effects of the radiation fallout have been visiting the Kent countryside. Experts believe even a short stay here can help prolong their lives.
It's their first visit to an English castle, and despite the pain of cancer treatment, the children are enjoying the charms of Rochester's heritage.
We like it here.
10 years have passed since the Chernobyl nuclear accident exposed local people to radiation 90 times greater than the Hiroshima bomb. The youngsters were just babies then and have since developed cancer.
They come over to this country and they can breathe clean air and eat wholesome food, and by being able to do this, it hopefully extends their life by a year, spending a month here in England.
The way forward may be bleak for these youngsters when they return to their country, much of which has been destroyed by the nuclear accident. But doctors expect the visit here will at least help repair their badly damaged immune systems.
Sport now, and in today's busy Easter football programme, a 3-0 win for Queen's Park Rangers over Everton increased their survival chances in the Premiership. And in the Ensley League First Division, Crystal Palace moved closer to an automatic promotion place, beating Reading 2-0. Outside of the Football League, but hoping to get into it, Stevenage Borough met Woking at the top of the GM Vauxhall Conference.
A capacity crowd of nearly 4,000 watched the game, which began with Stevenage a single point ahead of Woking. The side at the top soon got into their stride, and 2 goals in each half were enough to win the game for the home team. Stevenage's next opponents are the Football League, who must be convinced that Borough's ground is good enough for league football.
That's it. We're back in Business Breakfast tomorrow morning. Now the weather with Suzanne Charlton.
Good evening. Well, for Easter Monday, we've had some pretty warm spring-like weather. Temperatures in Fahrenheit terms have been up to 50 and even nudging into the 60s Fahrenheit there. The highest temperatures around 17 Celsius at Kinloss on the Murray Firth and 17 degrees in Belfast as well. It's not going to stay with us though, I'm afraid, that type of weather. The dark green colourings and the yellows as well, showing still some pretty warm weather around for a day or two, and then things I think will start to change. We'll start to see it becoming really quite cold again, with a rather fresh and chilling east wind by the end of this week. But not for tonight. A really pretty mild night right across the whole of the country, and that's due to these mainly southwesterly breezes, mostly fairly light, but just that little bit brisker at times across the far northwest of Scotland. And that's where we are seeing a little bit of rain at the moment, that moving its way northwards with these sets of weather fronts. They're also ensuring a lot of cloud across the country, and that is thick enough around some of the southwest-facing coasts and hills to find just a few spots of light rain or drizzle in places, and also a lot of mistiness and some fog for the coastal areas too. But some inland areas will actually see a few clear spells of weather even tonight. Now into tomorrow, that weather front moving further away, and this high pressure will start to assert itself again. So for central and eastern areas, although cloudy, I think, again in the morning, chances are we'll have rather more in the way of bright weather in the afternoon for tomorrow. Some spells of sunshine in many areas, and pretty warm sunshine too. But out across these westernmost regions, well, again, any coastal areas that face down towards the south or southwest in particular could pick up the odd spot of drizzle, and it may stay a bit cloudy. But temperatures not far off those of today, so another pretty warm day. This weather front moving in from the west, though, through Wednesday. Cloudy in the east at first, some brightness and sunshine breaking through, and then the rain arriving in the west in the morning, pushing its way into central parts of the country by the end of the afternoon. By Thursday, the wetter weather holding in the east, but becoming a bit drier with only 1 or 2 showers in the west, and then it will get colder again, I think. Bye-bye.
Is it the end of the line for Dorothy and Gary's relationship?
What would you say if I was having a bit on the side?
I'd say, oh, what a shame. Now there are 2 of us women that have to put up with your feet.
And Tony's doing no better to impress Debs.
Do you know what I hate about you most?
Yeah, I do know this. In the face of change, Gary's attitude is purely philosophical.
If God had wanted us to stay with one bird, he wouldn't have invented other birds, would he?
Drop in on Men Behaving Badly. Tomorrow, 9:30 on BBC1.
The US Masters live on BBC2 Thursday at 9:30 and later on BBC1. Live coverage on BBC Radio 5 Live.
In the Gangsters film season in 50 Minutes on BBC1, the life story of one of the most notorious villains in mob history, Rod Steiger, is Al Capone. First on BBC1, Desmond Lynam introduces Match of the Day.
They were certainly number 1 on Easter Monday morning. Would they stay there? Good evening. We have this afternoon's game between Manchester United and Coventry, the championship and relegation at stake. Then this evening, Newcastle were back in business. On Saturday, Beardsley kept them in contention.
Beardsley. Still Peter Beardsley. Oh, save! Wonderful goal by Beardsley.
Tonight, Newcastle were away to the club they hope to replace as champions, Blackburn Rovers. That's our main game. It's 3 from 7 for the drop. We have all the goals that count. He's won a championship and been to Wembley. But what future for Wilkinson at Leeds? A special report. tonight's comments from Alan. First, it's this afternoon's match at Old Trafford. Manchester United unbeaten in 17 games, timing their run in brilliantly against Coventry, desperately trying to maintain their top division status. Roy Keane was missing for United, suspended. Brian McClare came in. David May and Gary Neville formed the centre-back pairing. John Salako started for Coventry with Borrows injured. The commentary from Tony Gubber.